Aruba, May 30th, 2005. 18-year-old Natalee Holloway gets into a car with three strangers and vanishes forever. The prime suspect is known from day one, arrested and released over and over again. He changes his story, trades information about a dead girl, and keeps walking free. And then, exactly 5 years later, to the day, the body of another woman is found in a hotel room in Lima. This is a story about how impunity becomes a death sentence for the next victim. Natalee Ann Holloway, an 18-year-old graduate of Mountain Brook High School in Alabama, straight-A student, member of the National Honor Society, holder of a full scholarship to the University of Alabama, where she planned to study medicine. On May 26, 2005, she flies to Aruba along with 124 classmates. It's an unofficial graduation trip, 5 days on a Caribbean island chaperoned by 7 adults. On their last evening before the flight home, the group heads to a club called Carlos and Charlie's in Oranjestad. Music, cocktails, dancing, a typical farewell night for graduating seniors. Around 1:30 in the morning on May 30th, classmates notice Natalee leaving the club and getting into a gray Honda. Behind the wheel is 21-year-old Deepak Kalpoe, with his 18-year-old brother Satish beside him. In the back seat, 17-year-old Dutchman Joran van der Sloot, son of a local attorney. Natalee sits next to him. The car pulls away and dissolves into the Oranjestad night. On the morning of May 30th, a bus takes the graduates to the airport. Natalee's seat is empty. Her suitcase sits in the hotel room, her passport lying on the nightstand. Surveillance cameras at the Holiday Inn capture everyone entering the building that night. Natalee is not among them. She never came back. Natalee's mother, Beth Holloway Twitty, learns what happened and flies to Aruba that same day. She arrives on the island with one question: where is her daughter? But there will be no answer that day or the next, not in a week, not in a month. The gray Honda carried Natalee away from the club, and from that moment, her life ends for everyone who knew her. All that remains is the question: what happened after the car turned the corner? The Aruban police launch an investigation, but the first arrests don't happen until June 9th, 10 days after the disappearance. 3 are detained: Joran van der Sloot and the brothers Deepak and Satish Kalpoe. All 3 were the last people seen with Natalee alive. All 3 give statements, and all 3 contradict each other. The Kalpoe brothers claim they dropped Natalee and Joran off at the hotel. Joran tells a different story. He was dropped off alone at the beach, and the brothers drove away with Natalee. Later, he changes his version yet again, says he stayed with Natalee on the beach, but then left, leaving her alive. The only thing all versions agree on: Natalee was in the car with them. After that, discrepancies on every single point. The Kalpoe brothers are released on July 4th. On August 26th, they're arrested again, on suspicion of serious crimes. On September 3rd, they're let go once more. There's no evidence. Meanwhile, a search of unprecedented scale unfolds on Aruba. FBI agents arrive on the island. The Netherlands sends 50 Marines. 3 F-16 fighter jets take to the sky for aerial photography of the island. The Aruban government releases 4,000 civil servants from work, and 700 volunteers comb the island. Police drain a pond near the Marriott Hotel after a local gardener's testimony. The result? 0. No body, no clothing, no traces. Nothing that could be placed on a table before a judge. Natalee Holloway vanished without a trace, and the 3 suspects walk free. Critics of the investigation point to a simple fact. During all that time, the suspects could have destroyed any evidence. The question arises: why did the Aruban police act so slowly? And here a detail emerges that explains a great deal. Joran van der Sloot's father, Paulus van der Sloot, a practicing attorney preparing to become a judge on Aruba. A wealthy family, well connected with the local elite. On a small island where everyone knows everyone, connections like that matter. Beth Holloway openly accuses the police of dragging their feet and protecting a local family. Pressure from the American media on Aruba builds with every passing week. The Natalee case becomes one of the most heavily covered disappearances in the history of American television. Cameras from CNN, Fox News, and ABC don't leave the island. Joran himself makes a contradictory impression. On paper, a top student at the International School of Aruba. But his mother Anita later admits to reporters he's a pathological liar. Even as a teenager, he stole money from his father, showed aggression toward his brother, and snuck out at night to gamble at casinos. His parents sent him to a psychiatrist and acknowledged they were unable to control their own son. In November 2007, police make another attempt. Duran and both Calpo brothers are arrested again, this time on suspicion of involuntary manslaughter. But once again, there's no evidence. They're released. And in December 2007, the Aruban prosecutor's office officially closes the case. 2.5 years of investigation, and not a single person charged. The case is closed, but not for everyone. In February 2008, Dutch investigative journalist Peter R. de Vries goes on air with explosive material. On screen, footage from hidden cameras installed in a specially equipped Range Rover. The recording shows Joran van der Sloot talking to someone he believes is his friend. That person is Patrick van der Eem, de Vries' agent, who spent months infiltrating Joran's circle. 3 cameras captured a detailed account. Joran says, "That night on the beach, Natalee suddenly lost consciousness. He panicked and called a friend named Dory. Dory came, loaded the body onto a boat, and took it out to open sea. Natalee was dumped into the ocean. The story sounds plausible. For the first time in 3 years, something resembling a confession appears. The Aruban prosecutor's office reviews the recording and deems it admissible for investigation. But the court reaches a different conclusion. The information deserves attention, but it's not enough for an arrest warrant. Joran remains free once again, and then he does what he's always done. Claims he made the whole thing up, says he thought van der Eem was a drug dealer and was simply trying to impress him with a fabricated story. Later, in an interview, he puts it even more bluntly. People were paid for me to tell stories, and I'm very good at making them up. The pattern repeats with mechanical precision. A story, attention, retraction, a new version. Every time, Joran edges just close enough to the truth that everyone perks up, then retreats behind a wall of lies. On February 10th, 2010, Joran's father, Paulus van der Sloot, dies of a heart attack on a tennis court. He's 57 years old. The man whose influence many believe shielded his son is gone. A few weeks after his father's death, Joran decides to monetize the only thing he has: information about a dead girl. He contacts John Kelly, the Holloway family's attorney, and comes with a direct offer. For $250,000, he'll reveal where Natalee's body is. The advance, $25,000. Kelly secretly flies to Aruba and meets with Joran. He gives him $100 in cash, then immediately notifies the FBI. The Federal Bureau of Investigation organizes an operation jointly with the Aruban police. During a recorded meeting, Kelly hands Joran $10,000 in cash. Another $15,000 is wired by Beth Holloway to his bank account. $25,000, exactly what Joran requested as a down payment. For that money, he leads Kelly to a specific location on Aruba. He points to the foundation of a house and says, "Natalee's body is here, under the gravel." The information is immediately verified. There's nothing there. Joran later admits, the location was made up. He just wanted the money. A federal grand jury in Alabama hands down an indictment on charges of extortion and wire fraud. Joran spends the money on gambling. When it runs out, he buys a ticket to South America. On May 14, 2010, Joran van der Sloot arrives in Peru via Colombia. The purpose of the trip, the Latin American Poker Tour, a poker tournament in Lima. He's long been hooked on gambling, and poker for him isn't a hobby. It's a way of life. At the Atlantic City Casino in downtown Lima, he spends evening after evening. Stephanie Tatiana Flores Ramirez, a 21-year-old business student at the University of Lima, less than a year from her degree. Her father, Ricardo Flores, is a successful industrialist, a former vice presidential candidate in Peru, and a professional race car driver. The family is well known and respected. Stephanie's mother is Elsa Pia Ramirez, a psychologist by training. Stephanie has 2 sisters and 2 brothers. She's the youngest in the family. Those close to her describe her as sharp-minded with a stubborn streak. She couldn't stand being told she wasn't allowed to do something. Stephanie is an avid poker player, a regular at that very Atlantic City casino. Friends would later say, at the poker table, she was a different person, focused and calculating. But away from the casino, she was a regular 21-year-old who dreamed of starting her own business after graduation. Casino cameras capture the moment. Joran and Stephanie sit at the same poker table. They meet over the game, and in the days that follow, they spend time together. Stephanie has no idea that the man across from her is the prime suspect in the disappearance of Natalee Holloway. She sees a young Dutchman who plays good poker and knows how to be charming. May 30th, 2010. Exactly the 5th anniversary of Natalee Holloway's disappearance. Surveillance cameras at the TAC Hotel in the Miraflores district capture the moment. Joran and Stephanie enter room 309. The time is around 5 in the morning. The door closes behind them. Behind the closed door of room 309, what later gets reconstructed from laptop data, surveillance footage, and court testimony unfolds. The browser history on Joran's laptop shows that during the night, he was looking through material about the Natalee Holloway case. Articles, news reports, his own name in headlines. According to the version later presented at trial, Stephanie notices these materials on the laptop screen and starts reading. She discovers who Joran van der Sloot really is. She learns about the missing American girl. She realizes that the man beside her is the prime suspect. The judges would describe what happens next like this. An argument broke out between them that escalated into a physical confrontation. Joran beat Stephanie and strangled her. Roughly 4 hours after entering, surveillance cameras capture Joran leaving the room alone. In his hands, his bags. He takes 850 sols, a little over $300, along with credit cards and the keys to Stephanie's car. On June 2nd, a hotel employee enters room 309 and discovers the body. Police examine Joran's laptop. After the crime, he searched for routes to Chile, border crossings between Peru and Chile, and countries with no extradition treaties. He was already running. The escape plan, scratched out in the laptop search queries, plays out fast. Joran abandons Stephanie's car in Lima and heads south toward the Chilean border. According to the investigation, he was looking for a country without an extradition treaty. Interpol issues an arrest warrant. Peruvian police distribute the description and photographs. On June 3rd, 2010, 4 days after Stephanie's death, Chilean police intercept Joran on Chilean soil. He's sitting in the back seat of a rented taxi. This time, there's nowhere to run. He's detained and extradited to Peru. On June 7th, Joran van der Sloot confesses to the Peruvian police that he beat Stephanie Flores. The confession is recorded, but just a few days later, he does what he's always done, tries to walk back his words, claims the Peruvian police pressured him, insists the FBI set him up, says the confession was coerced and has no legal standing. A familiar pattern, first the words, then the denial. The only difference this time, there's a body in a room registered under van der Sloot's name, camera footage showing 2 going in and 1 coming out, a laptop full of search queries about escape, stolen belongings, and a car. On Aruba, investigators had none of this, and Joran walked every single time. In Peru, there's no walking away. The trial begins in January 2012. The proceedings take place in Lima amid massive attention from Peruvian and international press. In the courtroom, Ricardo Flores sits in the front row, hands clenched on his knees. Beside him, Stephanie's mother and her sisters. The prosecution lays out a minute-by-minute timeline of the final hours of Stephanie's life, drawing on surveillance recordings, laptop data, and autopsy results. The forensic examination confirmed the cause of death as strangulation, with multiple injuries documented on the body. Joran's defense rests on 2 arguments: temporary insanity and lack of intent, claiming he acted in a fit of passion. The prosecutor counters, the search queries about fleeing were made after the crime, indicating a clear state of mind and the ability to plan. On January 11th, Joran van der Sloot pleads guilty to the qualified murder and robbery of Stephanie Flores. Addressing the court, he says, "I am truly sorry for what happened." Ricardo Flores would later tell reporters, in the moment those words were spoken, he saw nothing in Joran's eyes. No remorse, no fear, not even interest. On January 13th, a panel of 3 judges delivers the verdict: 28 years in prison. The court orders compensation to the Flore family in the amount of $75,000. For the Flore family, this is at least a period at the end of a sentence. The guilty party named, the punishment set. For the Holloway family, the verdict in Lima is only partial justice. Joran is convicted for what he did in Peru, but for what happened on Aruba, he still faces no accountability. That same January of 2012, Natalee's father files a petition in an Alabama court to have his daughter declared legally dead. Beth Holloway tries to contest the decision, but eventually steps back. Natalee is declared dead. 7 years since her disappearance, and still no one has officially been held accountable for her fate. Behind the bars of a Peruvian prison, Joran van der Sloot doesn't change. He adapts. On July 4, 2014, he marries a Peruvian woman named Lady Figueroa, who sold small goods by the prison walls. At the time of the wedding, she's 5 months pregnant. In November of that year, a daughter is born. They name her Dusha Trudy after Joran's grandmother. Prison for Joran becomes less a punishment than a new environment in which he finds ways to profit. In 2020, Peruvian authorities discovered that he organized a cocaine trafficking network inside the prison. The scheme was well-oiled. Drugs were smuggled in by a relative of another inmate, hidden inside sugar beets. Joran wasn't just selling within the facility. He was also smuggling product abroad. 18 years are added to his sentence. In 2021, he demands a divorce from Figueroa. The reason he doesn't even try to hide: another woman, 22-year-old Eva Pacuanico. Joran's total sentence, including the added years, reaches 46. It would seem that he's beyond reach in a Peruvian prison. He's convicted, locked up, and the only things left for him are petty prison schemes and manipulating the people close to him. But American justice never closed its case. The federal charges of extortion and fraud, filed back in 2010, are still waiting. On June 8, 2023, a plane lands at Birmingham Airport, Alabama. On board, Joran van der Sloot, extradited from Peru. He faces a federal court in the Northern District of Alabama on charges 13 years old: extortion and wire fraud. Those same $25,000 he took from the Holloway family for false information about the body. But prosecutors have another goal as well: the condition of the plea deal. Joran admits guilt on the federal charges and in exchange tells the truth about Natalee Holloway's death. On October 3, 2023, a recorded session takes place, a so-called proffer, in which the defendant provides information as part of a plea agreement. In the room are FBI agents, prosecutors, and Joran's attorney. On the table, a recorder. For the first time in 18 years, Joran van der Sloot describes in detail what happened to Natalee Holloway. His voice is steady, almost matter-of-fact. That's how those present later describe it in the court documents. According to his account, that night he was walking with her along the beach near the Marriott Hotel. They stopped and started kissing. When Joran pushed for more, Natalee refused. A struggle broke out between them. According to Joran, he struck her, and she stopped showing signs of life. After that, he dragged the body into the ocean. On October 18, 2023, Joran van der Sloot officially pleads guilty to the charges of extortion and fraud. Federal Judge Ana Manasco sentences him to 20 years to run concurrently with his Peruvian sentence. Factoring in all convictions, Joran will remain behind bars for decades. Can even this confession be trusted? A man who lied dozens of times and openly said he knows how to make up stories. For the first time, provided specific details. But even if his words are true, Natalee Holloway's body has never been found. The ocean off the coast of Aruba never gave back what was surrendered to it that night. For the Flores family, the matter was settled in January 2012. For the Holloway family, the road to something resembling an answer took 18 years. Beth Holloway turned personal tragedy into a public mission. She founded the Natalee Holloway Resource Center, created the International Safe Travels Foundation, and became one of the most prominent public voices advocating for families of missing persons. Her book, Loving Natalee, documented the 18-year journey of a mother who refused to give up. The Natalee Holloway case has spawned dozens of documentaries and series, including a Netflix project. But behind all the retellings, one question remains. The system on Aruba had its prime suspect from day one. It arrested him and let him go. closed the case, and reopened it. And all the while, he traveled to another country and took the life of yet another woman. Stephanie Flores would be alive today if, in 2005, justice on a small Caribbean island had worked the way it was supposed to.